that now brings us to our beloved fourth and long section. We apparently have a pretty lengthy one filled with some good topics.
And we
today,
do not know any of these.
Yeah, we don't.
We do not.
We never do.
We never do.
But here
yes,
we go.
Fourth
here
and
we go.
long.
On a 4th and goal.
4th down and 20.
4th and 21, not the way you want to try to extend it.
What do you have for us this week?
I've got so many. I know it's only preseason, but there's so much going on. So let's start with this. Preseason. Shedeur Sanders.
Yep.
Could you imagine being part of the Browns organization right now going, oh, crap. He comes out, throws 2 touchdowns, right? 14 of 23, 128 yards. He looked really good.
He did. He looked the part. He
looked the part. And I realized it was preseason, but he might be in the driver's seat in that organization.
So he's not, because the Browns came out with their second roster
at the start of the week.
He's still 4th on the list.
And you want to know the best part about that? Joe Flacco is still 40 years old, so he will not be playing this next preseason game. That's already been announced. Kenny Pickett is still hurt. So it is now Shedeur and Dylan Gabriel that's going to be splitting the reps
smiling
next week.
Too, ear to ear? You know he was loving it.
That team loves him. Like, I've seen clips, like, I'm sure you've seen him on Instagram, like the conversations between him and Myles Garrett, just like after the game, immediately after. Dude, like, he has somewhat of a command of that locker room. Like, you can see it.
And my take on it is how, if I'm a Cleveland fan,
and we have one in our fantasy group,
I lived
too.
in Cleveland.
Yeah.
How am I going to sit there and kind of see what he did? And I understand it's preseason, but his 2 touchdown passes were pretty nice.
Especially
it's not like they were wide open.
Well, that first one was a layered
he fitted
throw.
into a window. He was fitting. He was dropping balls over 2 defenders.
Yeah.
So say what you want about
NFL
preseason. I know I've kind of said what I think about preseason. But at the same time, if I was a Cleveland fan and all I've been fed leading into that game was he's not good enough, he's not ready, he's not this, he's not that, he's not that, and then I turn on the game to watch what I watched, I'm a Cleveland fan going,
what are we doing?
What did I just watch? What is he not doing that you were like, he's not ready, he's the 4th string quarterback, he's this, he's that.
No,
I would be very pissed off right now, honestly, if I was a Cleveland fan.
The proof is in the pudding that I think this was a forced decision by either Jimmy Haslam, the owner, but the Browns brass did not want Shedeur in the building.
Composure in the pocket, though. He looked good. He looked the part. He looked the part. That's all I'll say. Okay. Another one here. Another quarterback that came out first NFL game. Preseason. Tyler Show, right? He went 15 to 22, 165 yards, right? Had a touchdown. He also had an INT.
It was a bad
INT.
Yeah, it was bad. But, I'm sure as a Saints fan, they got to be a little bit excited.
Well, I will say like a third of his passing yards came on one wide open touchdown pass that was like over 50. So I still think he's going to be absolutely terrible. And especially after, let's, dance back to Shedeur. They took him like 2.5 rounds before Shedeur. So that's a whole nother thing. If you're a Saints fan, I think you're even more mad than you are a Browns fan.
Yeah, if I took the performance of what Shedeur had versus him, I'm looking at that going,
what the hell?
Yeah,
great.
Well, but every team passed on him. Let's not forget,
he's going to be 26 before he takes a snap in the NFL.
Every team passed on him.
This is true, and I agree with you on that. But I still, it's just.
It's crazy. Even I'm very excited to see Dylan Gabriel this weekend too, because I haven't seen him yet. But Shuck, it was.
All right, so
I was not impressed.
Dawson, little shout out for the Montana Grizzlies.
Hey.
Junior Bergen, you've seen him play in college a number of times. The guy is special when it comes to kick returns and punt returns.
He's here, baby.
In college, that's right. Him. There we go. There we go.
Not.
So, that was back in 2001. That was an awesome year. But he's special, and he had a really nice run back for the 49ers. They're looking at him as maybe being their primary return specialist. It's exciting to see a guy that can actually go out, and then it actually transitions to the NFL. And that might be one position that transitions easier than others.
Yeah. How many Mountain West players are there in the NFL currently?
Well, first of all, that's not Mountain West. It's the Big Sky.
Big Sky, sorry.
And there's there's more than you would think.
There's probably more than you think. The guy he's talking about, I don't think you probably know what he's talking about. I do, because I saw it. I'll be honest, it's when you're just like, that's all you think you can do as a specialist. It's hard.
You have to be Devin Hester.
You have to be very, very good at that to hold a whole roster spot, and that's all that you do.
Yeah.
Now, I think he can come in, bear an injury, bear a couple of those receivers going down. He could probably come in and fill a role.
How big is he? Like, what's his secondary position?
Receiver, punt return, kick return.
I mean, the Niners have a battered wide receiver room, so
That's
he's
what I
coming in
mean.
at the perfect time.
That's what
He's not huge. He's 5'9", but he's scrappy.
Slot guy.
He's very
scrappy,
fast, very elusive.
Right. There was another guy that came out of Montana that played many years actually for the Titans. Mike Marinari. He was a punt return specialist and a receiver. He had a nice little career. So Montana they put out some good receivers.
I hope and I wish, just because he's from Montana and we watched him play a lot, that he does make the team. It would be really
It'll be cool. I hope he does too.
I hope he does. It's very hard though in the NFL to hold a roster spot, and that's kind of your primary job of that's what I do. So
that's true.
It's an uphill battle.
So speaking of Montana, I got to bring up a coach that has been in the NFL, success in the NFL. He's out of the NFL. He just won a huge court ruling. I don't know if you guys heard, but the Nevada Supreme Court ruled in Jon Gruden's favor against the NFL.
Yep.
We might see Jon Gruden again. A lot of people would say, regardless of what's happened, he's an offensive genius.
He is.
Would it be cool to see him back in the NFL again at some point? Because it may happen now.
He said earlier this week that he's been dying to coach in the SEC. That's where he wants to be, apparently. I bet he'd take anything, but he's been alluding to the fact that he really wants to coach SEC football.
I want him in Miami.
He's really, really made a brand and name for himself
Barstool helped
outside
revive him.
of football.
Yeah.
To where I'm sure everyone's seen the videos of him unpacking all the team gear that he gets sent from all the different schools.
He's now Barstool Gruden.
Yeah, he's really kind of shown like, hey, this is a normal dude. He made a mistake. So what? We all make mistakes. He just had the limelight on him.
Well, he really was.
Now they're saying the
too.
NFL, this is what the court ruled, that the NFL released all this stuff on him.
They leaked it on purpose.
It was very strange.
Yeah,
so
we're dealing with this, but we still have no suspension for
Rasheed Rice.
Exactly.
Oh.
Exactly.
They were they had their hands tied. They were more focused on the Jon Gruden thing.
Yeah. Okay, so speaking of what Jon Gruden loves, which is quarterbacks. So quarterbacks that started in the preseason in week 1, is it good? Is it bad? Does it depend? I mean, look, you got Michael Penix. I don't understand why the guy didn't start, honestly. Mahomes actually did start for 48 seconds.
Threw one pass.
Tua started that opening drive, which I thought he looked pretty good in that opening drive.
He had 2 drives, actually, I think.
Oh, maybe?
One
Okay,
or 2.
so, but what's your feeling on that? Should should certain quarterbacks, maybe based on last year's performance, be starting a few of these games?
Joe Burrow played like 2 full drives. I think, and again, and because
Jamar, he had a touchdown pass to Jamar.
Oh yeah, Jamar had 2. I don't know, Joe had 2 touchdowns, but yeah, Jamar had a touchdown. For the teams that specifically are starting out slow every year, need to do it.
It's not like some of these football teams in college that they get 2 or 3 weeks of patty cake games where they can go out and play non-conference
from week 1. Some teams, you have a divisional matchup sometimes week 1.
Well,
the Bears start with 2 of them.
For example, like what you just said, hold on, the Falcons play the Buccaneers week 1.
Yes,
and you're telling me that you're not going to play. They haven't played any of their starters through and they've said they're not going to. Any of their games. I think it's a mistake. I really do. And they're viewing like the joint practices and kind of the scrimmage stuff as going on, their best on our best in practice. But to me, it's just you have a quarterback who only played a couple games last year. When you were this close to the playoffs, your defense let Bryce Young put 40 on you in the last game of the year when you had to win to even have a chance to go to the playoffs, and you didn't. So to me, even the Bears, I think Caleb Williams should be playing at least one drive a game.
I think he's playing next week. We play the Bills, but you bring that up. Ben Johnson said something similar, but I still saw quite a few starters out there. But yeah, he just said, for the joint practices that the reps against the ones are kind of, even though it's not in a stadium setting, that, you are getting real game reps, but I think you need both still. And so I do think the Bears, for one, will be playing starters this next week. But
I think Penix should be playing.
I can't believe they're not playing.
I think Caleb should be playing.
Yep.
I think Drake May played, so that was cool. Yeah. He played.
I don't think Jaden Daniels played.
Jaden Daniels did not play. I think he should be playing.
Oh yeah.
I think Bo Nix should be playing. I think if there's
Bo Nix only played.
If there's four quarterbacks in the league that shouldn't be playing, it'd be Joe Burrow, but he played. Mahomes, but he played. I don't know if Josh Allen played. He didn't.
I don't think so.
And Lamar. I don't think Lamar played. But in my opinion, I think you've got 5 or 6 guys. Jalen Hurts, I don't think needs to play.
Yeah.
You've got 5 or 6 guys that
Rodgers probably doesn't need to play.
But even Rodgers, I'd say you need to play. You're on a brand new team, brand new system. I would say you need to go out there and at least have a couple drives in the third game.
Yeah. And they probably will. I would hope so.
So there's to me 5 or 6 guys that just shouldn't. But then you look around the second-year quarterbacks that we kind of talked about last week.
Yeah.
You've got to play. You got to go out there and play.
Yeah. All right. So history made again in the preseason. This is the 3rd out of 5 times that the longest NFL kick has happened in the preseason.
Damn.
I don't know that should matter. And I think of all the records that could maybe hold against regular season. So Cam Little kicks a 70-yard field goal. It looked incredible. That's a boomer. and it doesn't count. Unfortunately, it'll never go in the record books.
Sucks.
Do you think it should go in the record books?
Yes.
And wow, 70 yards.
That's crazy.
I thought it was really cool. And awesome. Jake told me, he's like, yeah, if you go through the comments, they're like, well, obviously he's going to make it because they're going up against second string people trying to block it. And I was like, you guys are stupid. Whoever is commenting that, because chances are your second string are on the whatever you want to call it, the kick block team or so. I thought that was pretty funny when Jake told me that, where I was like, yeah, I don't think that's going to matter.
But it does matter a little bit. If you remember the kicker that kicked in your high school that went to kick at Georgia Tech. Remember, he came in Georgia Tech and he had like 3 kicks blocked in his first. I'm not talking
about
but he was going against different talent. In high school, no talent. Then he got the call. All of a sudden, these guys are 6'6".
But that's the launch angle that you're kicking the ball.
Yeah.
I think he made that 70-yard field goal with room to spare.
Yeah. That's a boomer. I think he'll set the record this year.
That was crazy.
But I also think that if he's not the only one that I think is capable of doing that.
Nope.
Yeah.
I bet the Cowboys kicker, Brandon Aubrey, can do that.
I guarantee you we will see some really, really long kicks this year to where teams are now becoming more comfortable to send their kicker out to do that.
Yeah.
And I think we could see a new record here in the next couple of years.
Yeah, I think so too.
I even saw the Bears kicker who hasn't made a kick over like 55 yards, I think ever. He hit a 57 on Sunday. I was like, what the hell? Yeah. Like apparently kickers have been hitting the gym all season, or all off season.
All these positions evolve. The receiver position evolves. The quarterback position evolves. Even kickers evolve. And this is making it so teams are like, okay, let's do it.
Yep.
65-yarder, 70-yarder, go give it a try.
Okay, so this one made me laugh. So Pete Carroll's got some swag, right? And Geno Smith. So literally the Raiders play the Seahawks on Friday night.
I saw this.
Geno Smith sees a sign in the stands that a Seahawk guy's holding up. It says
bust.
Bigger bust, Geno or Jamarcus Russell, and he flips him off. And they ask Carroll after the game, you're like, did you see, did you have a problem with that? He's like, did you see the sign? Heck no. Next question. That's so awesome. The swag is back in Vegas.
Are the Raiders going to be fun to watch finally? They might be.
Pete Carroll is going to live till like 150 years old and still be running around on the field.
Dude,
wouldn't doubt
he's
it.
like 80 almost and he's still doing it.
Yeah, I'm all for it. And to me, that's the Raiders. Like that's the Raiders mentality of flipping people off and Max Crosby doing what he does. And so I'm all for it.
Speaking of which, Max Crosby was right behind Geno Smith also doing it too. Off the same person.
I'm all for it. I think it's great. I think Pete Carroll, I think the Raiders organization, they were so like bottled up and in trying to be perfect and trying to do this and trying to be this image of, and now they've just kind of been like, no, be the Raiders, be why people hated the Raiders in the 90s and in the 80s of the black hole and going into Oakland.
Yeah.
Well, remember, your
that.
mom, I think, went to one Raiders game and she was really little, because she grew up in Oakland. And after that one game, Grandpa said, "You're not. No, it was only for the boys.
It's
It was
like
only
one of
for
the-
the boys.
it's like-
It was a rough experience."
It's like one of those things to where I would never go to a Philadelphia Phillies game wearing a Braves jersey in Philly. I would never go to a Philadelphia Eagles game
For any team.
For any team if I'm not wearing an Eagles jersey.
Yep.
I would never go into Heinz Field where the Steelers play in any other jersey.
Yep.
And I don't think I would ever go, maybe now a little bit better because it's in Vegas, but when it was in Oakland, I don't think I would have ever went to a game in another jersey that wasn't, an Oakland Raider jersey. So I'm all for it. They go back to why people hated you and what made you the Raiders. I'm all for it.
Well, look, and the first game I ever went to was Seattle against Miami in Seattle in the Kingdome. The last game ever in the Kingdome before they imploded it. And in that game, before that game started, I was all wearing my Miami Dolphins stuff and come walking in. This little 12-year-old kid looks at me and says, "The Dolphins suck." I was like, oh my God, right? I looked at the dad and said, "Great job, Dad." But it was like, holy cow. So Seattle, just as bad. What happened after that game when we beat them? The way they were grabbing people's flags and throwing them down on the field from like the 300 level.
too,
I mean, they were
back
like
then.
Seattle fans aren't very nice either. So, okay. So let's talk about gambling a little bit and
Ooh, I like gambling.
parlays. So did you hear about some of the fans throwing a conniption fit over the fact that the Lions-Falcons game, after that brutal injury, they called the game and some of these guys are like, "You screwed up my parlay." Like, I mean, at what point does gambling cross the line?
All I'm going to say,
there is no line with
if
gambling,
you're gambling on
unfortunately.
players that were playing in a preseason game in the fourth quarter, first off, I don't even know how
Dial the number.
I don't even know
Dial
how
the
you
number,
got
like, now.
those player props.
I wasn't aware that they did preseason props.
Maybe they didn't. Maybe they're just complaining about the over/under or the total point
I don't know.
scored.
That I'm sure they do.
But if you're complaining,
No. You remember last year, the thing that Gavin brought up. We should have done that this year. You remember Gavin hit a huge parlay. This is off topic, but about preseason. You were in the group chat too.
Oh,
You guys
yeah,
saw
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Last year, Gavin hit like a 14 or 15 leg parlay because he took, I think, the unders on every single preseason game.
for total points,
And they hit. Yeah, for the total points.
So if you're doing that, like I hear you, like dang, a whole quarter left of football
Yeah.
to where you never. But if you're betting on player props,
But did
in the
they mark
fourth
that
quarter-
game out? Was that
I
game
would
marked
assume it
out, or
did.
were the results where they were? That's what I think people might have been mad about. Like, did they just can't? You know how when a player
I
cancels,
would assume
and
that it probably just ended where the game ended, and all.
Yeah.
the
Well, 'cause
stats
Because
the
that
imagine
game
if
was
you had a
almost over.
6-guy parlay and you hit 5 of them, and then that one you were winning,
Yeah.
and then they slashed it out.
There's no way that
game
you
was
were
almost
you were
over,
betting
right?
on player
Well,
props.
there was like
it was in the
11
fourth
minutes
quarter.
left.
It
in
was
the
like
fourth
11
quarter.
minutes in the
There was
fourth
a
quarter.
good chunk. So
fourth
anyway.
quarter preseason game, you don't even have a winner if the score is tied at the end of the fourth quarter. So it's
I can see
That is
being
what it is.
mad about the over/under or the total points scored,
Yeah.
but if you're betting on player props,
why are you taking an over on a preseason
Yeah.
game anyways?
Yeah. All right.
that's-
So,
yeah.
okay, a little bit. I want to talk about golf for a minute because
Okay.
the PGA Tour
Ryder
is
Cup
getting
is
close
soon,
to
right?
ending. Right. You've got the FedEx Cup here
FedEx
next
Cup,
weekend
sorry,
here
not
in
Ryder
Atlanta. Tiger Woods. So Tiger Woods' greatness. Do you realize? Yeah, I know they're talking about Scotty Scheffler and how great he is and all that, but hear this out. From 91 to 93, those 3 years in a row, Tiger won 3 U.S. junior amateur titles. Then he won the next 3 in a row of the U.S. amateur titles, 94, 95, and 96. Then he won the Masters in 97. I don't think that'll ever get repeated, ever.
What?
Total dominance for 7
think-
years.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a few things because I think the talent pool has gotten a lot younger. And
And
so I
better.
think you're seeing way more prodigies now and parents that grew up in the Tiger era wanting their kid to be the next Tiger. And so from the second that child can walk, they're holding a golf club. And I mean, yeah, like you're seeing Charlie Woods, the son of Tiger Woods, is having trouble winning tournaments. And the youth, like,
He's got good
I just
competition.
I've got to think that it's Tiger's fault that it's like this, anyways. But
Yeah.
that's crazy. I mean, there are a few reasons that cannot be replicated again.
Not taking away what Tiger was, but I do agree to where the talent gap,
Technology too.
technology of the clubs, and
Yeah.
just being able to, it's made it it's made it harder to have one person make a run the way he did.
Yep.
Now we're seeing that with Scotty,
We are.
but even Scotty, it's not like he's winning every single weekend to where it seems like that sometimes, but it's really not.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's going to be very, very, very hard to in any sport. I think even you can look at Tom Brady and the Patriots, and you can look at baseball. You could look at NBA. It's becoming very hard to just have that one team that just dominates for years because the talent gap is so wide when it comes to all these teams and who they're able to get.
Yeah.
And in golf, like even tennis, that used to be Federer and the same
Federer,
guys
Nadal,
winning
Djokovic,
every single
Andy
time.
Murray.
And now we're there's lots of new guys within the space. So the golf space, I think, is the same way to where you're going to have your top dogs, but it's not going to be on the level of dominance that Tiger was when he was winning everything he was winning.
Yeah. Well, speaking of golf though, and the FedEx Cup being next weekend here in Atlanta,
I think it's not.
We've been 3 years in a row.
I think it's
no, it's the next.
I think it's like the 20.
Okay, I think it's a couple of weeks away.
FedEx
But regardless,
Cup.
right? Regardless, I'll be honest with you. I'm not super excited about the. I don't know why. Maybe it's just because I'm just not excited yet. We haven't bought our tickets. We've been 3 years in a row. Is it because of what Scotty has done this season? I mean, I don't know. For some reason, are you guys excited about it?
I don't know. I think it just depends on what you want out of it. It just depends on if you're just going just to watch golf or if you're going to watch a specific individual try to win.
Apparently, Rory's not going to be there
when
this
you
year.
know, really.
Yeah.
When you
Saw something.
that oh well, it doesn't matter how hard I root for this guy. This guy's one of these guys is going to win. So maybe it just depends on your expectations to where if you're just going to watch golf and you really don't care, it's great. If you go in with a vendetta of wanting to see one person win then that's where you can get disappointed. So I think it just, and maybe we've spoiled ourselves a little bit because we've been 3 years in a row. So that could play into.
We saw Scotty win it.
We saw Scotty win it. We saw Rory win it, and then we saw.
That's cool.
I can't remember.
I can't remember now. I wish
year.
we'd have been the year before when Tiger won it, but
no, I mean it's fun. It's very hot, and it's very there's a lot of people, and they've done a lot of renovation to it. But yeah, I think it just depends on what in any sporting event you go to. It depends on if you just go to a football game and your team loses, you're going to walk out of there disappointed.
Speaking of the renovations,
no matter how much you spent.
Did they
on
start the
tickets,
renovations after last season? So, or was it the year before?
No, it was last tournament was the first time they played it with all the renovations.
Oh, okay.
So this will be the second year that they play it with all the different changes.
Okay. And Rory will be playing.
Here's an interesting topic. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but in your feeds on all social media, have you noticed what hasn't been in your feed lately? The WNBA, complete crickets. I wonder. I wonder why.
It has been in our feed, but I would say for all the
wrong reasons
of just kind of more
throwing things on the court. I forgot about that.
Proving more to the point of how
Clark?
big of a joke it is, and like you don't. It has before, but consistently, you don't see that crap happening in any MLB game, in any NFL game, college football. I know people in college football became a trend to like throw beer on the end zone when you didn't like a call for them to stop the game to review
Texas
it.
and Georgia last year.
So there's that, but it just when you're doing that as like a pure comical joke, and you know what I'm talking about.
What I'm talking about. The memes of the safety nets. I forgot about that around the court, and then like in baseball.
Having to come out and be like, "Oh, we no longer have our bag policy because we're trying to stop." Like it's just like I just laugh because they're trying so hard.
Caitlin, it's killing them not having Caitlin Clark part of this.
Well, and even what's her name, the Sophia
Paige
Cunningham coming out on Caitlin Clark's team on podcast saying you're stupid if you. Like, yeah, we have talent. Yeah, there's lots of talented people in our league. But you're stupid if you're not looking at Caitlin going, she's the reason why we are what we are. Mm-hmm. And that's a player in the league, the one that's it finally comes out and says it the way it is.
You want to know the sad part, too, is that they're going to realize it when it's too late.
Yes, they will.
It's too late. And it's,
if they don't figure it out this next year, I think it'll be too late. they've got to figure something out,
They do.
or else. So listen,
Yeah,
last thing I want to talk about, and back to just finish on preseason football. Only week 1. Yeah, all these combined practices and different things they're doing. It seems like there's a lot of injuries starting to stack up for some of these teams.
Yeah.
How, even in practice, right? So even the ones that they're not playing, they're getting hurt in practice. How much of an impact do you think some of these injuries so far that we've heard are going to affect the outcome of some of these teams' seasons?
So far, I think the biggest team that I think is suffering the most has been the Packers.
I was just about to say the Packers.
Their secondary, I think both of their starting safeties are hurt.
Receivers.
One of their starting corner, Nate Hobbs, is hurt, who they just paid in free agency. And then, they've got like 3 receivers
Jordan
that
Love
aren't going to be
just had
starting.
surgery on his non-throwing thumb.
It's not looking good for Green Bay.
Yeah,
like, at all.
Yeah, I had no clue you were going to say that, but Green Bay has been.
What about the
riddled.
Lions? Like, it seems
The
like
Lions
they've had,
are, well, I mean, that's just, I mean, it's pulling over from last year. I mean, yeah, they have had some injuries as well, but I mean, they're still dealing with the stuff that happened last year at the end, because they had guys that suffered season-ending injuries near the end of last year, and so they're going to be without them for a while too.
I think the Dolphins have got hit with some on
Yep,
defense
we have.
as
Oh
well.
man, no, genuinely the Dolphins.
But
and the Packers.
this is I mean,
every
this
year?
is football. Every year, it's always, and it sucks to think about, but every year going into it, it's okay, what big players are going to get hurt this year? And it's just a realistic thing of what I think, for fantasy reasons, for, all the things that goes into what a football, and look at the season that the Eagles had, how healthy they were. And Landon Dickerson, one of their best
who avoided
guards,
season ending, but
he's hurt now, and he was a huge part of that O-line of why they were able to do what they did with Saquon.
He filled in for center for a
Yes,
little
he
bit
did.
when Juergens got hurt.
Yes, so it takes it. I mean, this is why I say winning a Super Bowl is very, very difficult, and just minus all the football, just staying healthy.
Yeah.
So, and it does suck that all these players are going, we mentioned like the Bills cornerback who
Harrison
from Kentucky. There's a lot. It just really comes down to whoever can come out of the starting gates not injured and start the fastest and stay, consistent with if you have an O-lineman who gets hurt, he'll be back in 6 weeks, have someone fill in. It's the season-ending injuries that really, really suck, and that's why we saw the Lions kind of take a hit what they did last year, to where all of a sudden they couldn't play defense, and they had to go play Josh Allen, and Josh Allen put 50 points on them, and they couldn't keep up. They couldn't outscore that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's happens every year. You hope that it doesn't happen to your team and your star players, whether that's fantasy, whether that's your best receiver, just whatever, however you want to look at it.
Yep.
It does suck though, because I wish if I could take anything out of football, I've said it for years, it'd be injuries.
Yeah.
I do think the NFL needs a second bye week. I think that would help mediate things a little bit. I think
love that.
realistically,
That would extend the season another
Goodell
week.
wants. I mean, we've heard the layout of how they want it. 2 preseason games, 18-game season, 2 bye weeks, and then the Super Bowl falls on President's Day weekend.
It'd be
You
perfect.
get a 4-day weekend or 3-day weekend on Super Bowl. I think it's probably headed for that. I don't think they can negotiate it for a few more years.
I bet you it
It's
happens
27 is like the earliest they can, but I think it's headed towards that as well.
Okay. That's all I've got
Is it
for this
fourth?
week's
That was a long one.
Fourth and long.
That was a good one.
Good job.